Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Wendell, and this is Lead Well MD, a podcast that explores how leaders can transform healthcare through emotionally intelligent, effective clinician leadership. So today we're exploring what it truly takes to build a culture of excellence in healthcare. One where clinicians thrive, where teams perform, and patients truly feel the difference. And there's no one better, in my mind, to have this conversation with than Dr. Stephen Beeson. So hi, Steve. Thanks for being here with me.
Well, thank you for that profound and I'm not sure justified compliment.
Very justified. Very justified. Well, let me tell a little bit about your background, if that's okay. All right. So you are a family medicine physician by training. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you did your residency here at UCSD in San Diego, and then started your clinical practice with Sharp, Reese Steely Medical Group, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In 2001, you were selected to serve as the physician director for the Sharp Experience. What I understood was an organizational commitment to building a culture where the experience of patients was both consistent and exceptional. And you guys had some tremendous outcomes during that work that you did there.
There's a lot to be proud of. It was many, many, many people that were facilitators of our ascent and change, but it was a really amazing journey to be part of.
Yeah. What I heard is that you spent 18 years doing that work, and you guys were able to see tremendous improvements in things like patient experience, which you held at the 99th percentile for a decade. That's pretty impressive.
Well, that was my personal patient experience data. The organization really had a really nice climb from bottom decile quartile to top decile, through lots of hard work and some of the things that I later learned about the power of developing people from their best. And so, we had some pretty great outcomes.
I think that's amazing. So you've written 2 books. Which one, Practicing Excellence, A Physician's Manual to Exceptional Healthcare. And then a few years later, Engaging Physicians, A Manual to Physician Partnership. Tell me a little bit about why you started Practicing Excellence and what you do exactly.
So I was going through this journey of both managing a very large panel and having this position of medical director for the Sharp Experience, where I was really responsible for facilitating physician participation in our change effort.
Right.
And realized very early on, and now I know definitively, as we all do, is that physician participation, advocacy, modeling, promotion, and positioning of any change effort will predict its ability to get executed. When physicians sit in the back seat and they cross their arms and they complain about things and throw rocks at their administrative partner, then good luck getting anything done. So, and one of the really powerful drivers of our results at Sharp, Reese Steely Medical Group, and eventually Sharp Healthcare, was, transitioning physician from backseat, customer and sometimes victim of administrative mandate to champion, advocate, and leader of a change that they really believed in, and to become amazing for patients and really great for each other and become great colleagues to each other, and to lead our clinical microsystems well in a way that people say, I love coming to work. What was a worthy endeavor. So I had a chance for that time to really see the power of physician engagement and capacitating change. I also saw the power of skill development and human development. So whether it be learning how to communicate and connect with patients, or learning how to collaborate and become a good colleague, or learning how to leverage leadership influence, that idea of continuous improvement, skill development to provision actions to render outcomes was yielding not only results where clinicians were showing up differently, but it was deeply enriching for the clinician, because there's so much evidence now that highly collaborative cultures, team-based cultures, serving a purpose bigger than ourselves, and finishing clinical encounters with a patient that hugs you and says you're the best is really enriching and fully accessible to clinicians. So going through that work for 10 years, I was with the medical group for 18 years and doing this hard work of organizational change for about a decade. At the end of it, we had really great results. And I was actually sitting in a Starbucks
Okay.
thinking
Yeah.
and reflecting on my life. And at that time, I was managing a 2,200 patient panel. I was coaching, training, and developing clinicians and other care team members at Sharp
Uh-huh.
in my medical director position. And I was traveling around the country,
Hmm.
taking leave without pay to other organizations that wanted to implement a skill development
Yep.
strategy to help them as a mechanism, as a catalyst to help them achieve their goals.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, well, I can't do all three without totally blowing up my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought, what do I want to do?
Mhm.
And what I also realized was it's really hard to develop clinician skills that create results
Right.
without pulling clinicians out of clinical
That's true.
productivity, without putting them in classrooms.
That's right.
And it was very episodic, ineffective, and
Yeah.
analog.
Okay.
And so I thought to myself, sitting in that Starbucks, how might we use technology to
Mhm.
power continuous human development and
Okay.
improvement?
So what
And
year was this about? I'm curious.
that was 2013.
Okay. All right.
And
Yeah.
so, and then I thought to myself, well, gosh, why don't I start a company that uses technology to power and scale skill development to execute outcomes and patient experience and leadership effectiveness and team
Hmm.
collaboration.
Mhm.
And now, 13 years later, or whatever it is, 12 years later,
Yeah.
I can't do
Yeah.
math.
Yeah.
We've got about 60,000 users and
Yeah.
20 case studies,
Wow.
and
It's
still consider
amazing.
ourselves to be ourselves at practicing excellence, a continuous improvement journey
Yeah.
on how do we best leverage human development to raise the capacity of people to create outcomes.
That's right. I love that. I think that's just an incredible story, honestly. A lot of people sit back and dream about entrepreneurship, but some people actually go out and do it, you know.
Well, yeah. If you've got about another 6 hours, if we can pull a Joe Rogan here, I can tell you all the blood that comes from
Oh, I am sure. Yeah.
it's so much more difficult
Yeah.
than you can envision. It's
Yeah.
deeply enriching, and there's nothing like building and
Mhm.
growing something that makes a difference in the world.
Mhm.
But holy crap, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it is not easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you had the idea, you've got to find developers for that idea, you've got to create the technology, you've got to, I mean, there's so many pieces to it, I
Well,
can't even imagine. Oh,
and I didn't even know so let me tell you a funny story about
okay.
what we first started.
Yeah.
And I go, oh yeah, this is going to be easy. You make
Yeah.
little videos, speak to people, they watch the videos, then they
Yeah.
take an action, and the
Yeah.
organization who purchases you says, look at the outcomes. Wow. So the first thing that we did, and this is after actually getting funding from Sharp Healthcare.
Okay.
So
Did they
I,
funded
I
it for you in the
yeah,
beginning. That's amazing.
they are the principal investors because
Wow.
they saw the power of human development. I
Yep.
presented a business plan
Nice.
that was cryptic, and I said I wanted to start a company that does this. And
Yeah.
they go, that's a good idea. So they're still on our board. And
No
it's kind
kidding.
so yeah.
That's awesome.
So anyway, the very first thing we did
Mhm.
was we had a couple of computer science graduate students
Okay.
built a customized LMS
Okay.
that couldn't remember a password or a username. So anytime anybody went into it, they had to re-log in manually
Oh
with a
gosh.
username
Okay.
and password. And you know
Okay.
how well that would go over with
Yep.
physicians.
Yep.
There was no taxonomy or organization of the content.
Yeah.
Our videos were really long. They were like 15 minutes long on how to do
Okay.
things.
Yeah.
And we had no client support for how an organization uses human development and
Right.
embeds it into operations and gets people to actually participate and change behavior.
Right.
We had no pre and post measures of success. We had no use analytic engines on the back end. We had
Yeah.
no continuous medical education.
Wow.
And so you can imagine how that went.
Yes. I can.
So and then, so you do all these things and you go,
Yeah.
gosh, the videos have got to be really short and
Yep.
quick. We
Right.
have to have single sign-on, so zero barrier to entry.
That's
We
right.
have to have it on a mobile device.
Mhm.
We have to have all the content be evidence-derived and super actionable to remove the pebbles in the shoes
That's
for
right.
patient communication or team collaboration, leadership, safety behaviors, whatever the things we want to learn. And we have to have use analytic engines for
Yep.
leaders to know how people are participating. We got joint accreditation to allow us to grant CME.
Wow.
And And now we're in the process of incorporating AI to
That's
create
amazing.
really highly contextualized, personalized learning, which is
Mhm.
going to be amazing
It is gonna
when
be
it's done.
amazing.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
long did how long was that evolution when you started putting all those pieces together till you really felt like you had a robust,
Uh,
um,
yeah. So
solution?
from the clunky
Yeah,
homemade
yeah,
duct tape LMS
yeah,
to our current app
right.
was from about 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, okay, got it,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
Yeah, but you
So,
continued to refine it over time with
oh yeah, yeah. We got
clients and
the
with
yeah.
organizations that were willing to sign up and work with you and do it. I think that's amazing. But
Yeah, yeah, and it was,
yeah,
and just getting, one of the things that we really pride ourselves in at Practicing Excellence is really
yeah,
listening to our members. We have
yeah,
editorial boards and continuous feedback to be
yeah,
outside in to say, what content do you need?
yeah, yeah.
What are the features of the app that are most helpful? What are the things you would like to see that aren't there yet?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and we're currently in a test of concept using an AI engine to create
Yeah,
personalized, customized learning, and
wow,
it's we're really excited about what AI can do to
sounds
create
that way.
personalized, customized
Yeah, no
new
kidding.
development. Yeah.
And keeping the guardrails where they need to be, I suppose. I mean, that's always the tricky part about AI, right? Gotta make
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Well, not only the guardrails, but
mhm,
the thing that we're really deliberate about is
mhm,
that we've got about 10,000 pieces of content that we
mhm.
put in a
Wow,
database that
wow.
is all evidence derived, and you
Mhm.
can map an AI agent to access that database.
That's great.
So it's
Mhm.
less likely to go out in the world
Yeah.
and hallucinate and
Okay.
provision an inaccurate guidance for a clinician. So if a clinician goes into the app and says, "Hey," I and this is our next version of ourselves,
Yeah,
says, "Hey, AI coach.
yeah.
How do I best communicate with the patient demanding antibiotics for a viral illness? Give me some
Mhm,
guidance on that."
mhm.
If you go out to Chat GPT
Yeah,
5, it's
yeah.
going to give you, I've done it. It gives
Mhm,
you a funky answer that's
mhm.
clearly not
Yes, I would imagine.
based upon the best of thinking and evidence
Yes, yes,
and written and crafted by clinicians in the trenches.
yes.
But when you begin to map it into a known database of
Mhm,
evidence-derived content, and they can
mhm.
use their language processing to present it in a really clear, articulate way,
Yeah,
then people go, "Oh, here's 3, oh my god, that's yeah, I wish I would have learned that 10 years ago." So
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
didn't go to war with patients trying to get antibiotics. I could see something really
Yeah,
empathic and understanding and clear and do the right thing clinically. So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, so the proprietary database of the Practicing Excellence content that we spent a decade building is
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
the database that we reference,
Okay,
these
good,
AI,
good.
uh, agents. So,
Good to know. Wow, wow. Steve, that's amazing. Honestly, what an
we'll
amazing
see.
thing. I don't know anybody else doing it. I don't
Well,
think. I haven't heard anybody else doing it.
we'll see, we're gonna just keep going as fast and as hard as we
Yeah.
can, you
No,
know?
I think that you
So
definitely are one of the gold standards there for sure, especially in this area of human development and how it relates to patient experience and clinician experience. So I want to jump back to what we were talking about in terms of when, this whole idea of building a culture of excellence, all right? What that means. I want to go back to when you were starting at Sharp and when you were signing up to do the Sharp experience, you were brought in. What was the capability or the capabilities or behavioral gaps that were being seen or that you were seeing that were holding clinicians back at that point from delivering that consistent, exceptional care?
I think the first thing that I observed
Mhm.
was we didn't have a really clear identity of what it meant to be us.
Mhm. Mm.
And, when you don't have a clear intention,
Mhm.
meaning this is what it means to be a physician here or an APP
Mhm. I
here.
see.
And
Yeah.
without that identity, you have massive variance in
Yes.
regards to how it is that you show up.
Yep.
In simple things like explaining a medication, explaining a diagnosis, identifying what the patients are afraid of, what
Yeah.
matters most to them, what's the context of their lives, what do they love to do when they're not seeing you there in the clinic. All these things that are really, really important. I there's wild behavioral variance of how clinicians work with patients.
Yeah.
It puts clinical variation to shame.
Right.
It's 100x higher
Yeah.
than is clinical variation, which is an issue.
Yeah.
So, I shadowed hundreds of clinicians. That was one of our skill development interventions, was one-on-one coaching for those that met criteria for needing to be coached, which was
Okay.
they were below the 10th percentile or had more than 3 complaints per year. Then they got one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
And I would sit in the exam room and observe with the positive bias of a coach being in the room
Right.
watching
Right.
a clinician, and they still couldn't do the very basics
Wow.
of how it is that we position our group, how it is that we introduce ourselves, how it is that we gather a history in a way that the patient feels heard and confident
Right.
and in
Right.
us and feels
Right.
really cared about.
Yeah.
So what I was observing was there was just wild variance. And when you do a root cause analysis of that, you say, well, why are we so variant?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because people are different. And,
Mm-hmm.
this is not the Stepford doctors where
Right.
we
Right.
are
Right.
different.
Yeah.
But there's no clear identity that consistent behaviors
Right.
emerge from.
Right. Right.
So kindness and compassion for every patient every time
Mm-hmm.
can be an identity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to express itself in different ways, but
Mm-hmm. So there's room for that,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's room
Yeah.
there's room to express how it is that you show up for that, but
Right.
it's going to be kindness, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be warmth, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be effectiveness, and it's going to be compassion,
Mm-hmm.
expressed in your own way.
Right.
But one of the first things we had done was really convene to say, what are we going to be?
Yeah.
Who will we be for our patients? Who
Mm-hmm.
will we be for each other?
Mm-hmm.
And how will we lead?
Who convened just to do that
Oh
initially?
gosh,
Yeah.
it was department chairs,
Yeah.
it was influencers in the group, it
Yep.
was the board, it
Right.
was informal conversations with
Right.
people that have been there, that are really
Right.
invested in the future of the group,
Yeah.
advocates and champions for our
Right.
sharp experience journey,
Yeah.
and collective,
Right.
to say, what does it mean to be us?
Well, and the reason
And
why I
yeah,
ask that is because I think too often people keep, the top level are the only ones who ask those questions and create the answers to that, and that's just very problematic.
right.
You're talking about bringing the right layer into the tent to say, how are we going to do this? What do we care about? What do we need
Right.
to be? Yeah.
Yes, it has to be by the teams and
Mhm.
sourced from the
Yes.
front line.
Yeah.
And in fact, not to take us at a tangent, but whenever I would coach a clinician,
Yeah.
and they met criteria for needing coaches, I referenced, I wouldn't look at their data, watch them, and provision behaviors to make them better. That's a behavioral intervention.
Yeah.
That's like telling somebody who needs to get healthier to go exercise and eat less and wear your seatbelt and drink less alcohol. That's a behavioral-based intervention.
Yeah.
Identity-based interventions are
Mhm.
far more durable, far more effective. And the
Mhm.
first question I would ask these clinicians who were there to be coached
Yeah.
was, I would say, tell me the kind of clinician you want to become.
Mm-hmm.
And
And nobody has
every
ever
I
asked them that.
yeah, I've coached almost
Yeah.
1,000 clinicians now one-on-one,
Yeah.
and every clinician has variations of the same thing, which is I want to be a trusted healer who makes a difference for my patients and their families and in the world. And I want to be proud of who I am, and I
Yeah.
want to, bring my best, and I want to live a life of where I don't hate going to work,
Right.
where I can feel in a witnessable way that I'm making a difference. So I say,
Yeah.
great, I am here to help you
Do that.
bring that to light.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that means they formulated their own identity.
Yep.
And once you formulate the identity, then you begin using a skill building process to give them the skills and actions and competencies
Uh-huh.
so they can be that. And
Yep.
then, so as an example, I would, to give you a silly example, one of the guiding coaching tips that I would give is the closing of a clinical encounter. And I would have the clinician say at the end of a clinical encounter, if it's appropriate, to say to the patient, we're going to be with you every step of the way.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I would debrief with these clinicians who would try that and they go, oh my God, you would not believe what happened. The patient like welled up and hugged me. And I haven't been hugged in the 10 years that I've been in practice.
Wow.
And what that does is they did a behavior that was consistent and confluent with their identity. When
Yes.
we live in accordance to our identity,
Right.
two things happen. Number one, we feel a sense of contentment. So we're being who we want to be in this world. We're,
Right.
we're, we're living in accordance to our beliefs.
Yep.
And the second thing it does is it's an autocatalytic positive feedback loop to reinforce your identity.
Mhm.
So you become a more
Yes.
compassionate clinician because you did an action that you got a feedback loop that affirmed the value of that
Right.
reinforced that identity.
Absolutely.
And so that's what that coaching loop is all about.
Yeah.
And so I saw this incredible power of human development. So as we begin to formulate and convene and gather themes regarding who we wanted to be for our patients, for each other,
Yeah.
for our as leaders,
Yeah.
then I began to use that as a syllabus, if you will, or the skill development pathway. Because if we said we want to be kind and compassionate for every patient every time, that is who we are. Well,
Right.
then we actually have to do the behaviors that reflect that.
Wow.
And there is again wild variance there. So the skill development process to say what does compassion mean, and just to give you a little data set, if you look at 3 different studies that were done,
Yeah.
in terms of the frequency that clinicians express empathy, when patients express a fear, worry, or concern,
Yeah.
we miss 90% of all
Wow.
opportunities. So
Wow.
a patient says, I'm afraid, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really nervous about this. I can't sleep at night. We don't even acknowledge it. I can't
Yeah.
imagine how difficult this must be for you. We have this amazing team. We've got a really great treatment plan, and we're going to be with you on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's an empathic response.
Yes.
But you have to learn how to do that,
Yes.
because
Yep.
in the same study that said 90% of clinicians miss it,
Yep.
those clinicians thought they were being empathic. Every
Right.
single clinician, and this is a study
Most
done
do. Yeah.
in HEMONC, they
Yeah.
all believe that they're really empathic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this idea of skill development
Yeah.
to allow them to be who they aspire to, that is sourced from a convened identity that resonates with why we're in this healing profession, and builds skill development not as a class or an episode of Grand Rounds, but as a cultural trait of continuous improvement.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And so much of it is just based in intentionality. It's finding those moments, right? Recognizing them when they happen, and even starting to recognize when you miss them, because a lot of times that's the first step, right? In building that
right.
was just saying,
Yeah.
oh, shoot, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I
Mhm.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, tell me something too, just if we look at it kind of with a larger lens, I mean, you've had extensive experience. I mean, back at Sharp, in your practice, in all the work that you've done since, what would you consider a culture of excellence? What does it mean? What does it physically look like? What are the essential ingredients? Yeah.
I would say, so those that have achieved it,
Mhm.
they have, number one, a very clear from the board down, a declared intent,
Yes.
meaning,
Yeah.
it could be zero harm, kindness, compassion for every patient, every time. We're here for each other. We lead to bring the best of others. They have a declared intention,
Yes.
and that declared intent cascades to every layer of leadership,
Right.
where we're continually reminding and communicating and modeling that intention throughout the organization so it lands at the front line.
Right. Right.
So number one, they have a declared intent. So I could
Okay.
approach any nurse, any APP, any security guard, and I would say, what does it mean to be us? And they would be able to know it because they've heard it 100 times.
Okay.
So number one, they have a declared intent that is diffused across the organization. Number two, they have objective measures to verify in quantitative metrics that they're actually executing against that.
Okay.
We can't let the metrics surrogate the mission and become the mission where we're just trying to
No.
make a red box green, but they've got a robust dashboard to say, we are now quantifying our mission and we are accountable for it.
Well, and
And
that's the thing, Steve, that I'm thinking, because too often organizations will declare, but they don't do. And that disconnect, right? When they say, we stand for this, this, and this, we stand for, compassion, engagement, equality, and yet what is seen on the ground doesn't reflect that. And that's where you get that great disconnect.
it
Just
becomes a
yeah,
farce
yeah, it
is what
does.
it is.
It does.
And so they've got a declared intent. They've
Mhm,
got a robust dashboard that
mhm.
is a quantitative reflection that that intention is manifesting in measurable ways.
Right.
Number three, and this is the thing that I really believe in. They
Yes.
have a robust human development strategy. So if it's kindness and compassion, zero harm, team collaboration,
Right.
team-based care, whatever it may be,
Mm.
those the only way those intentions manifest is if we do the behaviors that reflect those intentions. So if we're
Correct.
kindness and
Yeah.
compassionate for every patient every time, we have to do the behaviors where the patient walks out and says they are so kind, they are
Mhm.
so compassionate, they are so caring, and they listen to me so well, and they know what they're doing.
Right.
Then the only way that happens is if we're doing the behaviors.
That's
The only
right.
way we're doing those behaviors is if we're continuously developing them. In the
Yes.
absence of a development strategy, you're going
Yes.
to rely on hope. And
Oh,
I
yes.
assume they'll do it. And you
Right.
introduce the massive behavioral variance, which is
Yes.
normative in
Yep.
healthcare.
It is.
So human development strategy, a
Yep.
robust dashboard, a
Right.
very clear and resonating and
Big
crowdsourced
yes.
intention.
Yes.
And I would think another important part is there's an accountability piece, meaning once you have a clear intent as this is what it means to be us, and you have a code
Mhm.
that people sign as they join the organization. There's an orientation that immerses them in the
Yeah.
cultural elements. They
Yeah.
have a dashboard that measures exactly how it is that we're doing the things. And they're getting continuously grown and developed to build the behaviors to allow them to ascend personally, but
Right.
also contribute to the mission. But
Right.
there's also a response if somebody clearly breaches it.
Yes. Yes.
Because we are so conflict avoidant.
Yes.
I was talking to Jerry Hickson on this, who's just
Yeah.
from Vanderbilt, who's just been a kind of the grandfather
Mhm.
of these crucial conversations.
Uh-huh.
And he said, Steve, we are so pathologically conflict avoidant that all sorts of aberrancies behaviorally occur, but
Yes.
physicians in particular
Hmm.
don't say anything to anybody and hope it never happens again.
Wow.
But if you don't have that as a pillar, meaning we believe so strongly in our intentions that if it is breached, we are going to have a conversation. And the conversation is not finger pointing and
Right.
saying, don't do that again. The
Right.
conversation is, here's what we saw.
Yeah.
Here's the results of what happened.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
is everything okay from your
Exactly.
standpoint?
Follow
Right?
curiosity, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
that person may be going through bankruptcy for all we
Mhm.
know, or their
Yeah.
kid is in rehab and they're
Yeah.
going through a real struggle.
Yeah.
But there has to be to build
A
that culture,
mechanism.
which is a
Yeah.
highly ordered state. You have to have intent,
Yep.
measurement,
Yep.
development,
Mhm.
and you have to have leaders who are skilled in having conversations.
That's right.
In addition to selection mechanisms, so
Yeah.
we're selecting based upon behavioral based interviewing. We have
Mhm.
to have orientation methods, as I referenced, so people know from day one what it means to be us,
Mhm.
um, and to know that culture follows the law of entropy. It
Yeah.
tends towards greater disorder unless there's
So
been energy inside of it to maintain it.
I'm so bought into what you're saying. And the question is, I mean, we both have such passion for similar work. So, what is it that you see that organizations tend to get wrong then? What is it that, where are they falling flat in this idea of building a
Yes.
culture of excellence?
How much time do we have?
I know.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
here are patterns
Yes.
that
Thank you.
I see that reduce the capacity to transform.
Okay.
One is top-down
Yes.
leadership approaches.
Yes.
They think
Agree.
it's the quickest, easiest way to get things done is to tell people with a bullhorn that what they have to go do.
Right.
And the paradox is it disengages people from the emotional connectivity to the purpose
Mhm.
that is required to change human behavior on a
That's
sustainable
right.
basis. So
Yep.
it's actually counterproductive and makes people exhausted and leave.
Yep.
So that's number one.
Yep.
And this is a child of this, which is highly variant leadership skills.
Yes.
Leadership is your ability to influence the thoughts and actions of others to achieve an outcome.
Huh?
That occurs when people feel heard, seen, valued, respected, tapped for ideas, appreciated, and that they matter.
Yeah.
And there is a body of leadership skills, as well as I, there's a set of leadership skills and leadership approaches that allow that engagement to occur. And
Yes.
engagement is discretionary effort to achieve an outcome. So they don't invest. The first thing to go when an
Yes.
organization
Is under
struggles
stress.
financially is let's get rid of leadership development.
That's right. That's
You know,
absolutely right.
you
Yeah.
lose one physician because the
Yep.
organization is ineffectively led.
Yep.
You've paid for leadership development for the
Mhm.
entire organization for 5 years.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But why is it that they do not see that, Steve? What do we do?
Oh. Because I think it's in part the byproduct of the financial compression right now.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
like we have a $275 million shortfall anticipated based upon Medicaid,
Yeah.
potentially Medicare cuts.
Mhm.
Therefore,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
we are
They're
going to
survival mode.
whack away,
Mhm.
and it creates decisions among leadership
Yeah.
teams that disengage people, make people leave, make people lose their discretionary effort. You lose your
Yep.
clinical talent. And quite frankly, your care team members start to
Mhm.
show up in a way where the patients during open enrollment say, that place sucks
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm leaving. And it's 10 times more expensive to go get a new patient than it is to
Right.
keep your current patients.
Right.
So if you build a culture that is consistent
Mhm.
in regards to the patient experience, the metric is probably the least important thing.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
your viability as
Yeah,
an
it is.
organization. If you can't keep your patients, and the 37 published studies, including one by Practicing Excellence, that
Mhm.
shows that connectivity to patients
Yeah.
is remarkably restorative to the clinical team.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and creating leadership structures
Yeah.
and ways of being and organizational cultures where people say, I'm going to stay here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to recommend this place. I'm going to deploy my discretionary effort, and my experience in this organization is
Mhm.
everything I hope my work in healthcare to be.
Oh,
And the irony is all of that's accessible through highly effective leadership,
yeah.
really collaborative teams that are there for each other, that help each other, support each other, lift each other up, laugh together, do Fitbit competitions, and are like family,
Yes.
and deeply connected to patients where clinicians and care team members are super proud of who they are, and they're getting verified by patient feedback who stop them and tell them how awesome they are. And all of those things are accessible.
Mm.
And I believe through a human development strategy
Well, I am
and
with
all the
you
other
on
things. Yeah.
1,000%. How would you, um it's so hard, isn't it? Because we see it. We see it so clearly. We see the studies, we see the outcomes, we see the ROI. What do you do when you've got people who are so focused on the other things that they may check a box that says, yes, we develop our people, check, check, check. But really what they're doing is the absolute bare minimum to say that they do leadership development or to say that they do culture work. What would you say to them?
Gosh, yeah, and we see it all the time
We do.
where, and I would say as you're working with leaders at an organization
Yeah.
that are tasked with transform the culture, the places where it's gone from checking a box
Yeah.
to we're actually doing this
Yes.
is when you have a CEO and executive team that doesn't send it off to somebody else, but they begin to advocate. They've got a fire in their belly to
Mhm.
make things better for teams and better for patients. Mike Murphy was like that at
Yeah.
Sharp Healthcare.
Yeah.
And that fire in the belly
Mhm.
from an executive leader, and then you have similar signals coming from the board, and
Mhm.
then the rest of the executive team says, "Oh, we're doing this now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I better get on
Get
the
on
train,"
board.
and not
Yeah.
getting on the train because they're just trying to mimic the CEO, but they're getting on the train because they go, we can really do something amazing here. All this
Right.
crap that we're constantly complaining and wringing our hands in,
Yeah.
we can actually make this really an incredible place for patients and teams. It's going to
Right.
take a while, but we're in the places consistently that have gone through a change,
Mhm.
that have been transformative, that
Mhm.
have been really, a fundamental shift in their culture, and with all the metrics that verify that they've done the journey in a compelling way, is the CEOs that stand
Yeah.
up in a super authentic
Yep.
and often highly vulnerable way to
Agreed.
say,
Yeah.
here's how we are right now, and here's
Yeah.
what we aspire to be. And they champion it in
Mhm.
a compelling way. And they do
Yeah.
it in a way that people start one at a time
Yeah.
coming on board.
Right. Right. It
And
takes
not because
time.
they're doing it because they're in compliance. They're doing it
Yeah.
because I want to be a part of that.
Mhm.
I want to
Mhm.
be a part of this thing. It's,
Mhm. You start to get the
yeah,
critical mass, you know?
yeah,
What about partnership? There's always going to be that tension between administration and practicing clinicians and leaders. And a lot of organizations complain about that misalignment. Talk about that partnership that has to occur in this kind of environment for this to really move.
yeah. I think that part of the predictor of alignment is
Mhm.
co-creation of the
Yes.
destination and intention.
Yeah.
So when clinicians are participatory
Mhm.
in designing the future state and declaring
Yeah.
what our priorities are going to be,
Yes.
there's a sense of ownership, there's a sense of advocacy, there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of accountability,
Mhm.
and they're much more likely to say, we're going in a really compelling direction that I think is going to serve us, our patients, our organization well.
Yeah.
And so that the co-design, so we don't bring them a strategic plan and say, go do this,
Right.
but it's done with them instead of at
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I think is really going to be important.
Mhm.
And I think the other thing that is, I think, critically important is that we frame it in a language that can resonate with the clinical team. And if you listen, sometimes I hear CEOs present at like medical staff meetings,
Yeah. Oh,
all regarding margin and finance and bond
yeah.
ratings, and the physicians are going, "What the hell is he talking about?"
He's just
I mean, there's this glaze,
yes.
and that may be their language, but it's not the language that lights the human soul on fire, and it's sure
Right.
as hell not why we got into this profession in the first place. Yes,
Right.
bond ratings are important, I think,
Mhm.
but if we want to engage our teams,
Yeah.
we must describe the future state in a way that
Yes.
allows them to say, I want to become a part of that. That's
That's right.
desperately what I'm seeking
Yep.
in my clinical life.
Mhm. And these are the
And
parts that
yeah,
I see as important, and then I wanna see that reflected in this
right,
definition we create, right?
right, right. And
Mhm.
the great CEOs will
Mhm.
begin the journey,
Yeah.
but then they'll begin to recruit influencers
Yes.
and
Yeah.
say, would you mind speaking
Yeah.
at this particular, and then
Uh-huh.
and then you have influencers, and again, for the fourth time, it's one person at a time.
Yeah. It
Uh,
is.
but it's fierce grit, it's fierce passion, it's a willingness to do it long term. In my medical director position at Sharp, I think I wanted to quit 5 times
Oh gosh.
because it's just
Why?
for those very reasons, because it would
Yeah.
you work so hard to create
Mhm.
a way of being, and
Yes.
then a
Yeah.
clinician would do something, and you go,
Yeah.
"Good Lord,
I'm not making any
is
traction here, you know, what
is
am I
anything
doing?
happening?" So, and to
Yeah.
realize that
Yeah.
failure is a part of the journey.
Yeah.
It is in every organization.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's something I'm constantly reminding a lot of the leaders I work with, that culture change, it takes time. It's pace your speed for some of them. They want to see things quickly and they forget their role in making that change happen. And that
right.
they can play an integral part of it, right? They're
Yeah.
one individual leader and they have to own that and know that, see that.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
yeah, sure.
but it does, it takes time. Well, let me ask you this. There is it always kind of comes back. We're talking about human development, so we're talking about humanity, right?
Right.
Um, Tell me a little bit about vulnerability as a leader when you're in organizations where you're trying to shift this culture. What role does that play, and how can leaders who are challenged by showing up in any kind of vulnerable way, even though we know it's important for leaders to model this, what
Right.
role does that play in all this, do you think?
Well, I think that authenticity is another critical predictor of leadership effectiveness, and vulnerability
Yeah. Yeah.
may be the two most important attributes of rallying people
Mhm.
to go.
Mhm.
And I think it's particularly hard for physician leaders because we grew up in training around show no weakness.
Mhm.
And we're getting better at letting down our guard now,
Mhm. Yeah.
but our default setting is I can do the procedure, I can take the next admission, I can do anything. And we could be dying inside,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
emotionally, yet
Yeah.
we will soldier on until we walk into a ditch. And so the ability to say, this is hard, and I really struggle with other people contributing ideas for how we can best room our
Yeah.
patients.
Right.
And I love telling people what to do. And you're gonna have to help. You're gonna have to help me on this one because I
Yeah.
struggle mightily. I've got
Yeah.
deep neural pathways that
Yes.
tell
Yes.
me to micromanage and
Oh, I
hustle
gotta
and
fix
tell you
it.
what to do. And that vulnerability
Yeah.
and the authenticity
Mhm.
of I'm deeply committed
Yeah.
to becoming better for patients and better for you and better as a
Yeah.
leader and to help you.
Mhm.
And that authenticity and vulnerability, I think, are critical
Yeah.
leader attributes that are required to build team trust.
Yes.
And
Yes, for
and
sure.
yeah, and I think that we can develop authenticity
Mhm.
and we can develop
Mhm.
vulnerability, and
Mhm.
by
It's a learned skill.
yeah, but it's a learned skill, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the best things I heard somebody, a woman leader who was one of the groups I was teaching, and we were talking about authenticity. And the fact at the end, she said, I realized today that I don't have to be anybody but who I am to be a good leader. She said, I thought I had to be charismatic and I thought I had to be loud and I thought I had to be, every in which way. And the fact that she walked out of there realizing that she could be effective and she could be strong exactly the way that she is with, minor tweaks that we all need.
Right.
That was
Right.
amazing. Yeah. I mean, I love that.
It's a lot less confusing when you show up the same way every time, and
Yes.
that showing up is
Yes.
based upon your internal code, your identity, your compass, your belief
Yes.
systems.
It helps to have an organization that frames that with you.
Yes, those things. And the thing that I envision to say, how can we
Yeah.
create change capability in an organization to really render
Yeah.
extraordinary outcomes in the
Mhm.
experience of care teams and experience of
Mhm.
patients and all the metrics financially and quality and safety that are
All
associated with
those.
that.
Mhm.
What we find and what the literature supports is that capability is highly dependent upon the frontline leader.
Yeah.
Engagement is a local phenomenon.
Yes.
It's cascaded from the executive team and the CEO in particular that
Mhm.
can declare a stake on the hill.
Right.
But ultimately, that
Mhm.
composite of highly effective leadership,
Yes.
vulnerability, authenticity, leading self well, self-awareness, growth
Yes.
mindset, team intelligence, psychological
Yes.
safety, gratitude, recognition, appreciation,
Yeah.
leader as coach, all those
Mhm.
things that we know there's radical evidence that when those leaders do those things,
Yeah.
but the key is
Mhm.
how do we scale
Yes.
leadership development
Yeah.
to manager and above?
Yeah.
And I would even contend
Mhm.
that physician as
Mhm.
clinical microsystem team leader
Mhm.
is another expression of changing how we see leadership development from a cohort of 25 going through a 6-month program
Right.
to highly scaled,
Yeah.
customized, personalized
Yep.
human development for every leader across a clinical enterprise.
Yeah.
And not doing it as a class or an episode or even a cohort, but
Mhm.
continuously.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's some of the things that I think are missing,
Yeah.
which is the leader cohesion, the
Yeah.
consistency of leadership at the front line to drive engagement and
Mhm.
results and
Mhm.
behavioral change
Yeah.
at the front line
Right.
is hard to do in the current models of leadership development.
It's true.
And some of the things that we're looking at practicing excellence
Mhm.
is how do we utilize tools that are available now to create
Mhm.
continuous, scalable,
Mhm.
verifiable, personalized, customized
Love it.
leadership development.
Yeah.
That's the vision.
No, I love it. I know because this stuff starts to get legs when there's a language within the organization, right? When you've got enough of a layer of people, of leaders, of people at the front line that actually can speak to things in the same way, right? That
Right.
have that. right? That have the understanding, the acknowledgement of those things, even if they're not perfect at it, even if they're not using it every single time. If you can build in that language that
It,
they share, yeah.
it's so important. And to give you one example of that, if just envision
Mhm.
every single manager and above and
Mhm.
whoever, everybody
Yeah.
learns the language and
Mhm.
action of growth mindset.
Right, right.
Right?
Yeah,
There's fixed mindset, which is the world is stuck. We're victims of
yeah.
the world around
I
us.
know.
We're never,
Yeah, yeah. Yep,
it's backseat, arms
yep.
crossed, kicking the
I'm at the
ground.
top of my
Think about step around
potential.
it, and the world is what it is.
Yep, yep.
And growth mindset is we make our future.
Yeah.
We determine the future. And imagine, and there's language that is fixed mindset. There's language and action that is growth mindset.
Yes,
And
very much so.
imagine if everybody knew growth mindset language and
Mhm,
action. And
mhm.
then there was a shared understanding. So when people go all fixed mindset, when
Right.
posed with the challenge, everybody around them is going to go, no, that's so, you're so fixed mindset,
Yeah, right. And they don't
and
take
we,
great offense. They get it. They're like, "Oh,
yeah, yeah.
maybe."
As opposed
Yeah,
to, I was the one person that went
yeah.
through a cohort. I'm now with 3,000 other
Right,
leaders that didn't go through the cohort
right,
and
right, right.
whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And so, not that the cohorts are very powerful and they're
They
really
are, they
effective,
are.
and
Yeah,
they can be life changing for the
yeah,
attendees.
yeah.
But the challenge is scale,
It's the scalability. I agree.
right? Right.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
as
Yeah.
I leave tomorrow morning to go teach a cohort,
Well, come on. You gotta start
right,
somewhere, right?
right, exactly.
Okay, I have a question for you. So, thinking into the future, right?
Hmm.
When you think about the next generation of leaders that are coming up, the Gen Zs and all that, what skills and mindsets do you think are going to be essential in the future that maybe didn't matter as much 15, 20 years ago?
It's interesting, but I think the one thing that I think is an emerging
Yeah.
leader skill
Yeah.
that is not super prominent in today's leadership persona, but I think is going to be vital.
Okay.
But two things.
All right.
Number one is becoming the multiplier leader,
Yes. I love
meaning
that.
I
Yeah.
don't demand, dictate, and bullhorn.
Right.
I tap the ideas of the people around me to allow them to contribute and participate to create diversity of thinking,
Right.
innovation, and
Mhm.
creativity and team intelligence.
Mhm.
So the multiplier
Love
leader,
that. Mm-hmm.
Liz Wiseman's work.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second is leader as coach. And there was a body of literature now that is supporting that the number one thing that employees are looking for is a chance to grow and ascend in their work.
Yeah.
So if you see leadership as an opportunity to grow your people and not just manage your people,
Yeah.
then I think those are going to be more forward looking
Yeah.
leader profiles that I think will service tomorrow's workforce.
Yep.
And you got to be really good at technology as well. AI obviously is a
Yeah.
fundamental game changer,
Yeah.
and our ability to be able to know how to use it to power
Wow. Good one.
change is going to
Mm-hmm.
be really important.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what do you hope for healthcare going forward? 20 years from now, what would you like to see?
gosh, well,
Small question.
there's a couple of things that I would love to see.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm not a policy wonk,
Mhm.
meaning I'm not going to talk about policy, but I would like to create consistency in healthcare cultures
Love it.
at an organization system level
Yes.
that is highly effectively led, that
Mhm.
is deeply evidence based, and incredibly kind and compassionate
Mhm.
for the patients that we serve, so that people that go in there say, this is what I thought I was going to be a part of when I joined this healing profession. I'm
Right.
working with amazing people. We're serving a purpose bigger than any one of us, which is the care of the patient. Me as a care team member, I feel heard, valued, developed, and I contribute ideas.
Yeah.
And it's hard and we work hard and there's a lot of pathology and a lot of patients, but we're working well together. I feel effectively led. I feel like I'm deburdened. I feel like my work is optimized. And I think we've got a lot of technologies that will really allow those things to
Help that. Yeah.
happen in the proximal future,
Yeah.
if not now. That's one thing is, and I would summarize that where we start, healthcare becomes led consistently and effectively so the people that we lead thrive.
Right.
And the second thing is I believe that there is a lot of fee for service model is we seem to have a death grip on it. That's for damn sure. But it creates a lot of downstream overtreatment, undertreatment, and probably not upstream wellness approaches that are best for our populations and our healthcare systems. So I think moving towards a value-based care in a more robust way would be something I would love to see happen. And I think the third domain is through the advent of technology and other tools, the activation of patients in self-care. I think in the absence of patients caring for self in an upstream preventative way, there'll never be enough healthcare to manage a massively overweight, inactive population. So I think that's even though, they say health is 20% determined by healthcare intervention and by all the other things. So I think an emphasis and a movement towards wellness across our populations. Don't ask me how that happens exactly. Those are personal decisions. But I think that's a condition that is going to be important for the effectiveness of our healthcare system to make it less expensive and more effective and more upstream, and more
Well, I
preventative.
do think we're going to need human developed, skilled leaders to take us there, right? I think that's a big part of the work that we're doing is trying to get people who can make that change, bring people along, right? People.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
All right. I have a last question for you.
Okay.
Right. This is a little self-reflection for you. Okay.
Okay.
So what would you say to yourself if you go back at the very beginning of your career? What advice would you give yourself, or what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell myself, you don't have to be perfect. And when I finished my training, I thought I had to get every diagnosis right and every conversation right, and I tore myself up with guilt and even shame about how I was showing up in this constant self-criticism about myself, and that's a hard way to live. So I think grace for self would be one thing. And the second is, for me, that this is my, I've had a chance to reflect over the years. The thing that brings me joy and contentment is building and creating and contributing to things. It's not money. It's not anything else, really. It is the ability to go on a journey where you feel and see the impact of something. And of course the relationship with my family and my friends and those things. So
It's a given.
so I don't point my ladder in a place where if I get to the top of it, I go, well, I got a big old pile of acorns, but I haven't spoken with my kids for months.
Right.
And I see no tangible, purposeful difference in the world that I've made. I think you can at the end of your run, whatever that may be, you can look back and you can say, damn it, I wasted it. So for me, it's about stick to a purpose that you believe in, try to make the world a better place, sustain and maintain relationships, have grace and forgiveness for yourself, and realize you're going to fail a whole bunch of times along the way.
Yeah. I'm sure that was a hard lesson to learn, how to get that grace. It's not easy.
Yeah, I'm still working on that one.
Yeah, right? Aren't we all?
Right.
Oh gosh, Steve, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, what you just said. I feel very similar. So I really take that to heart. But anyway, I appreciate you being here and talking with me today. This has been wonderful.
No, you're doing great things in the world, and it's an honor to stand beside you and for this podcast and in life in general.
Well, thank you, Steve. I hope we talk again soon.
You bet.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening. What my conversation with Steve reminds me is that cultures don't change because of slogans or dashboards. They change because leaders are willing to model who they want the organization to become, to develop the skills that bring that identity to life, and to stay the course even when progress feels slow. Thanks again for being here, and thanks for doing the hard human work of leading in healthcare. Take care, everyone. Stay well, and I'll see you next time. Lead Well MD is produced by Ashley Wendell and Physician Leader Group. Get new episodes as soon as they're published by following Lead Well MD on your favorite podcast app. And don't forget to share with your colleagues and spread the word.